Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for all of you out there for being part of our community. Trying to inspire the mind, transform the life in a way that is impactful, not just another conversation, not just another, let me tell you what I think, but actually things, actionable wisdom that we can apply. Because it's all about what is within you, all about your superpower within you and leveraging that superpower, right? So as we get started, well, while others are still joining us, I wanted to start with some concerns with regards to setting up the devices. And if anybody want to jump in, if you have issues, it shouldn't be that difficult. But what David and his team has done is actually put together a series of videos that allows you to interact with the connection itself, right? So this is an example of what that image looks like connecting a device. But I know last week we talked about someone mentioned how to connect the aura coil. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show the link. If you want to go to this link, I recommend you write this link down. This is the link that has the tutorial on how to make those connections. It's well put together. It shows how to connect the aura coil to all of the power supply as well as other devices. So if you're interested in reconnecting your device, please do so. I do apologize. My schedule was a little crazy the last week, actually 2 weeks. I had to travel out of town with twins, I want to say 4.5 weeks old, 13 hours drive. So it was quite a journey, quite an experience as well. But all is well. So I'm glad to be here. You know? One of the things we've been talking about, and we will go into while you're writing down those links. One of the things we've been talking about is how are you creating your reality, right? We want to be able to understand that your reality is a manifestation of your intentionality. And your intention are unconscious behavior, belief system, and ideas, those unconscious aspects of yourself, right? So we want to get into that because a lot of people feel vulnerable and victimized by the reality that they're creating, and they feel helpless and hopeless. And I want to make sure I can get you to understand the fundamental ideas behind energy healing, energy work. So many people out there are talking about the technical aspect. Well, let's make it real. Let's make it personal. All right. So we'll be talking about frequency, vibration, 0 point energy, and different things like that, how they are relatable to you. All right. You have no further ado. If everybody have got the chance to, here's the link. Again, go ahead and type that URL, and you should be able to go to the tutorial to show you how to link and connect your devices. And if you're still having trouble, call me. I should be free this week, unlike last week or the week before. So thank you all again for your patience with me. All right, so let's talk about understanding our default frequency, right? So today's topic we want to talk about is the power of your unconscious thoughts. And if anybody would like to jump in, please jump in. Because a lot of things out there that is teaching us about this device is all about healing and the reactive process of healing. I see that a lot. I see a lot of individuals that go on and post, well, how do I get rid of this particular problem? Well, that particular problem could stem from a spiritual karma that you need to balance, or a soul karma, or a mental karma, or a physical karma, right? So sometimes it's a lot deeper than just the reflective nature of, let me attach this device to the pain I'm feeling. Sometimes that pain is a lot deeper than just what is on the surface. We have to get past the mentality of what we see in mainstream medicine, where everything is reactive and treating the symptoms. With energy healing, we're going to the core. We're going all the way down to your intention, because that's where true transformation lies. So the power of thought patterns as our default vibrational frequencies. Right? Let's understand our default frequencies. What are you? Right? We can't deny our true selves. And I think a lot of times we do that. And then we deflect responsibility upon others So while we're going through our trials and tribulations and our struggle and frustration, we are creating it. Okay? Now, it's important to understand what are your default frequency. Every thought we hold, especially reoccurring thoughts, creates a vibrational frequency that we emit into the world, right? We send that frequency out. We call it resonance. We send signal out and says, this is who I am. Create the collective, all that is, create a reflective reality that aligns with what I have created within. And that's what we have to start taking accountability. Stop blaming people for the pain, right? And I can say this with confidence because I've been on the other side. Most people have not been on the other side. I've tapped on the other side. And I've seen that we predetermine everything before we come into physical manifestation, right? We determine how we're going to have this experience subjectively. Once we get here, we forget about the intention, what was necessary for us to come in here. So sometimes it's a soul purpose, trying to balance the soul from a collection of experiences from multiple different aspects of your realities that you have experienced. Sometimes it's a mental part of your creative balance. You've created so many distortions out there that now you have to counter it. And to do that, you have to do that from a perspective of experience. Right? So that's what we want to start looking at. Okay. So going back again, this idea of our default frequency, especially the way we think, becomes that default frequency, the signature that you represent, right? And you continually broadcast this to others, and not just people, but places and things that draw you towards it. And violence is something that you can be drawn to. Pain, struggle, frustration, sickness, disease, everything is what you're drawn to because of your vibrational blueprint, right? So how it works, just as a radio station transmits specific frequencies to each listener, our default frequency is constantly transmitting our unconscious intention and beliefs to the world around us. That is powerful because for a long time, people have been giving you your belief system. They've been telling you what to believe rather than how to believe and how to constructively believe, right? We have, we talked about religious institutions that don't develop the ability to constructively develop how to believe, but rather they put you into a box. This is how you should believe, and this is how everything else works against that belief or for that belief. Okay? So let's look at some key ideas, okay? Or key takeaway. Our default frequency is shaped by our dominant thought. What are you often thinking about? That's one place we can always start. Are you in your thought positively, constructively, negatively? How do you see people, places, and things when you go into your creative force? Because that's where your creativity exists, going into your thought pattern. Right? And one of the things about going into your thought pattern and experiencing the creative aspect of that is the ego and the emotion play a key role in that. Right? The ego's job is to keep you from being a victim, right? And then the emotional aspect is to perceive you being a victim. That is the duality of the experience. So you might have an experience that you perceive is what you're thinking about, but what you're actually doing is recreating or creating that reality in order to live it with a different person, place, or thing. So it's important that you start to take accountability and responsibility for how you're thinking. And the crazy thing is, you can think of something or someone or some place, it can be your job, it could be people, places, or things that frustrate you. And all you have to do is go within and change the thought pattern about that person, place, or thing. But the ego steps in and says, oh, hell no, that person did you dirt. They deserve punishment, right? Or the emotion says you're a victim and it's okay to sit here and just wallow in your pain, just feel sad. It's okay. You got this. Just be the victim because you were a victim, and it just perpetuates. But what you're not realizing is that you are creating a vibrational blueprint that you must reflect. For every action, it's an equal and opposite reaction. So remember, your action is not due to past actions. It's what you're anticipating next to come. And that is critical, because being a victim doesn't mean that you have now been, vindicated yourself. It says, well, I was harmed, and therefore that is not how reality works. And that is the illusion of the ego and the emotional aspect of our experiences, right? And so it gets us stuck in that loop. So what people need to take into consideration is, what am I right now practicing as a frequency vibrational expression that I have to relive, or I have to live at a later date, or I have to live next. Right? And if you begin to put yourself in that state of mind, you begin to overcome faster. Right? We have ideas like grit, perseverance, right? Push through. It's okay to fall, but when you get up. All those ideas is about the next step. The next step is the state of mind that takes you to the next level of success. Right? So I want everybody to be very conscientious of this idea, right? Do not focus on ideas and thoughts and belief system that don't serve you as serve the best version of you, right? And remember, that is your foundational pillar of what defines you. All right, next, okay. Default frequency as a lens for subjective reality. Every one of us are having subjective reality within the collective, right? How thoughts shape our experience. Our thought frequency, our default frequency, our everyday experience, idea, acceptance of ourselves, acts like a filter or a lens through which we perceive the world. Remember, I talk about the truth versus a truth. No one can tell the truth. What we perceive is subjective, it's a truth, but sometimes we lead ourselves to believe it is the truth, right? And so this subjective lens colors our interpretation of events, people, and experiences. Right? So everything you think you know about a person, place, or thing based on a reaction or an experience is just a subjective perspective. It is equivalent to know someone that have done you, let's say, wrong. It's equivalent to 0.0000000000000, always to almost to the infinite power of true understanding of the story behind the story. Because the story behind the story sometimes go beyond this physical world. You don't know what led that person to have that experience. And a lot of time you ask them on an unconscious level, on a deeper, on a higher level, to have that experience with you in order for you to heal, either balancing karma from previous lives or balancing something within this current state of being, of beingness. Yeah. So for example, our default frequency is one of worry and doubt. We will interpret situations more negatively and miss out on positive aspect of opportunities. Yeah. And I like to share, I've been running the luck frequency, and I see the luck frequency happening even in my situation with my mother passing, right? And it's easy to shift and says, I'm a victim, right? But if I'm holding on to the luck frequency and I'm holding on to that shifting frequency, that alignment, I begin to see within each step of my personal situation, there were a huge manifestation of growth and development within myself, right? One of the things I began to also understand here recently is that leap of faith. We sometimes we become subjective when we understand religious indoctrination or religious idea as it relates to the world, right? We have scientific principles that we believe contradict religion, but they don't. They're speaking the same thing because everything is energy. And energy speaks through religion, energy speaks through science, energy speaks through anybody and everything. Right? So one of the things on this journey I began to discover is true trust in the energy, not just talking about it, but trust in the energy. So a situation will happen and it will happen all the way to the edge of an experience, right? And it will happen to the very last moment while I'm still holding on, just to test. It's almost like my faith is being tested in order for me to be trusted. So it tests me and see, are you truly committed? Or are you going to walk away from this idea that the universe can conspire based on your vibratory expressions and give you the reality that you desire? And so when I reflect on the situation with my mother, I began to realize it is a blessing because I no longer am reflecting on the thought pattern of my mother always experiencing the idea of being sick. Because that's something that's always been part of my reality for a long time. Now, as I'm shifting, it's no longer becoming part of that shift. So I can sit back and still focus on the idea of my mother leaving, but she actually has helped me develop further based on her, de-animation and leaving. that the intensity of that situation allows me to be more balanced, more objective. Yes, I can still perceive subjective aspect of wrongdoing, but again, was wrongdoing actually done, or was this something that she chose to have experience so I can perceive the situation of wrongdoing to inspire others? Right? And this is still part of my growth process. Right? So for some of you, okay, I have an example. Imagine most of us have similar situation. We go through the loss of a family member, right? But it's how we choose to experience. Do you look at the situation from a perspective of gratitude and love and compassion? And for example, during the funeral service of my mother, I took my little daughter, Kyle, and I began to dance to the music, right? Because I wanted the experience to be more of celebration than sadness. While others was crying, I was dancing. I was not impacted by the negativity of loss in that sense, or that distortion. I call it distortions of loss, but yet a celebration of transformation and shift, because I know that's what has happened. And so how you perceive the reality is important, because through those lenses, how you transform and actually manifest the next levels of success. Right? So let's look at some key insight on this. Our default frequency determines our subjective reality, determines the reality. So what you're thinking, what you're believing is what is determining your reality. Okay. It is not necessarily what happens to us. We always hear that it's not what happens to you, it's how you think about what happened to you in a sense, but rather the vibrational lenses through which we interpret the experience of life. So how are you experiencing that situation? Because that defines you in that moment. Are you calm? Are you balanced? Do you understand that life perpetuates? Do you understand that the suffering is of that person is no more? Are you more in this state of I'm sad and I want to be sad and I want to be selfish about the situation? I should not have lost my mother. She should have stayed here and continued suffering. Why would she leave suffering? Right? Suffering is so exciting. Suffering is so amazing, right? All that pain, who would want to leave it? She needs to come back, right? And I'm being facetious, but that's what sometimes we do for our family. Right? We feel this gratitude that that person has transitioned to the light. We now hold back the anger. Maybe it's how they may have de-animated, but nonetheless, they're no longer experiencing. And if you are shifting, you have to shift away from people, places, and things that is perpetuating those vibrational identifiers, right? So if people around you are in pain and suffering, you will experience pain and suffering in some aspect because that's part of your thought pattern, which is determining your vibrational expressions, which is causing a resonance to reflect back to you. So take everything in stride. And it doesn't matter if somebody de-animate or something is happening to your life. It could be losing a spouse, losing a friend, just losing someone in general. It may just be that you're no longer vibrating in alignment with that version of that person. Because sometimes you can lose a friend for a season and then they come back and they're completely different than how you remember them. So that is important for us as well, right? So I want to make sure that we understand that as what we're considering to be a loss, it's not always loss. It's transformation, right? Because that person in that season is not the version that you need to evolve, and so that person has to leave for a season and then return. If they never return, then that person was in your life for a reason, right? So that's one thing I want you to understand, how your thoughts are shaping your experiences, and the situation around you is to redefine you or requalify you in a more objective and expansive way. All right, next. Unconscious intention is the default. What are those unconscious intentions about people, places, and things? Now, everybody have the opportunity to self-evaluate. Go within thyself. Know thyself. We've heard that. Know thyself. It doesn't say go know other people. Don't be nosy in other people's life. Know thyself. That's where you find truth. That's where you find true understanding. That's where you find unconditional love and acceptance, because you understand all the variable. And even then, sometimes we don't even know ourselves the way we deserve to know ourselves. We are just reactive of people, places, and things telling us what we are. And so we respond to those distortions as well. But it's important that you truly know thyself, right? So many of our dominant thoughts are persistent and automatic, right? They become unconscious intentions that we broadcast without realizing it. So we're bringing those distortion stuffs. We're bringing those pain, those stuff. And I remember it was interesting. My mother was always talking about so in the hospital when she would go to the hospital and they didn't treat her. And I remember always, she would always call me, I need you to find me a good lawyer because these hospitals did me horrible, right? I need you to find me a good lawyer. And that was something that she just was always in alignment, but somehow it never just manifested. I never really put the intention behind it, right? So what was interesting in her death, she created the perfect scenario to be able to sue the hospital, right? Because she acquired hospital infection, right? But even in this situation, I have to be careful to not become attached. So I had to back away. I share with my sister, if you would like to move on that journey, I would like you to take forth and move that journey forward. If that's something you would do, and I put some thought patterns together for her to be able to leverage. Because for me, I'm trying to evolve to another version of myself that is going to be more loving, more compassionate, more understanding, more patient, and more expansive, that I can really serve those twins that are here, but also the world to the best way I can. And I don't want nothing pulling at me where I lose my focus, because it's important that we get to that place of neutrality. When we get to that place of neutrality is where expansion really begin to take place, because you no longer have those attachments that limit you. Okay? So again, going back on the impact of people, places, and things, neutrality allows you to see things objectively from multiple different angles, right? So in the example here, for instance, if we habitually think I don't deserve success in this example, right? It could be success, it could be anything, right? This intention becomes part of our default frequency. We unconsciously broadcast that in that belief system. So you are constantly doing those things on a consistent basis, right? Whether it's I feel like I need to work 9 to 5 in order to pay my bills, right? We never focus on what the end result is going to be. We're so focused on things in between, and those things can become an attachment. So again, some key ideas, the takeaway, our unconscious intention sends a message to the world. That's what you're doing. Unconsciously sending messages to the world. Okay. Attracting experiences that matches those frequencies. Okay? To change our subjective reality that we don't want, don't like, don't enjoy living, doesn't serve us, we must become aware of these default patterns and shift them. That is the mission that we have to take on. How do we move forward? Right now, today is election day. Most of you out there are attached. Oh my goodness. You should hear the attachment. No, no, Donald Trump. No, no, Harris. And with such conviction, you are practicing to attach to someone that don't know you. They couldn't pick up the phone and connect with you, even if you try, because you're not even on the same wavelength. They'll talk a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you are spending all that energy. It's one thing to be objective and say, you know something, I'm going to express my opinion. I think this person is going to be a potential, and just pick. No, we're getting emotional. I hear people arguing and fighting about who is going to win. I said, man, those people don't pay your bills. I can't remember the last time they came to your house and pay your bills, right? They don't help you in a way that you think they're going to help you. It's just politics. The attachment to the belief system of politics is limiting, right? So it's important that we begin to pull back those attachments. Because if you say, I am for Donald Trump or I'm for Harris, you are attaching to ideas and intentions and connections that allows you to live those experiences, right? And you really don't know true intentions as it relates to those people. And then what end up happening, hurt and disappointment will start to come in at a later date because they're not fulfilling your expectation. And that's what we typically see, right? We get excited about these people in office, and then all of a sudden, he didn't do shit for the country, right? And we're getting frustrated. But at the end of the day, you knew this because you are the creator of your reality. You are attaching out there to something that is not designed to transform your experience and reality. You don't need Donald Trump. You don't need Harris to change your reality. You need you. You need to go inside you, find the best version of you, and feed that version of
Do
you.
you want me to come tomorrow?
All right.
But
So I want you
I think I
guys.
might have to wait until Thursday
I
because
want you guys to learn
that'll
to
be too close
love.
to the meeting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometime early tomorrow, can you see
I'm
the
sorry.
Marla, can you notarize the rest of those papers for me?
Okay.
Yeah. Which papers is it?
It's the
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay. And they can just unmute when they're ready to talk. Right. So again, I am reinforcing you, not nobody else, not even myself. I'm reinforcing you. I'm reinforcing who you are as a person. And I'm saying, go know thyself. Because through knowing thyself, you can know which direction you can guide thyself, right? Rather than allow you to be like a ping pong, just bouncing off different ideas and people, places, and things, right? Transforming the default frequency through conscious thought pattern, right? How do we do that? Become aware of your default thoughts. That is the work, right? In the spiritual context, even in the religious context, they talk about faith. Now faith is. Whatever it is you desire exists right now. Now faith is the substance, the tangibility of things. Hope for whatever you're hoping in your mind, but lacking the sight of, right? So you lack the sight of that because you're not resonating or vibrating and pulling that towards you. And they're telling you it exists now. So it is important to know that self. So you have to become aware of those default frequencies because the default frequency is what is creating reality. If the reality that you're creating is what you desire, then you know that you are, and you can say, I can accept because I know my default frequency and I like this default frequency of myself and vibration of myself. So I want to hold on to it more and you can keep those. But if you wake up tomorrow and says, no, this is not the reality I want, then don't look outside of you. Go inside of you and begin to examine how often, and you will catch yourself. Sometimes I'll be sitting there, I love my wife, right? Cherish my wife. And my ego sometimes gets in there. My wife will sometimes say something that will just annoy me. And I will go into my thought pattern. I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to think of her saying something differently than that. She said that, and so I'm going to think about that. No, and my ego, and I sometimes have to stop my ego from trying to inflame me to hold on to that belief system. My wife didn't really say anything of distortion. She just expressed herself. But somehow the ego is looking. The ego is aggressive. It is looking to jump in on something with you, right? And so and the reason I'm sharing this because the device that we have and this technology that we have, whether it's a scalar or 0 point energy, it is all to assist you on this journey, right? It's not a quick fix. It's a journey, right? And so in that situation for me, I have to neutralize myself with frequencies. I have to run the necessary frequency of calmness, right? And become more loving and compassionate. And I notice when I do that, the love transmute the situation into a more constructive way. But I also notice when I feed it, because the ego comes in aggressively and emotions comes in aggressively, right? It comes in and it almost like it wants to paralyze you, right? To be able to move in that direction. And I need you to become aware of that, right? And if you're feeling that, don't be overwhelmed, leverage the technology. So what technology, what frequency can I run? Because I need to vibrate. And because the totality of my vibration is not what is serving me, what frequency can I leverage to vibrate in a more constructive? And so you're setting the foundational pillar. It's not trying to fix that person. You don't say, I'm going to send some frequency in her direction or his direction and fix them. That is not how reality works. You have to fix you and then shift because the only thing you have control over is you. And that's how you shift, right? So some things you can do to help you become mindful with the frequency. Journaling. When you're doing journals, you can remember you can run the frequency in the background. When you're meditating, you can run the frequency. When you're being mindful, when you're doing mindful practices, run the frequency. And the frequency would just accelerate that process, right? And so those frequencies now become powerful because the intention is there. When you are trying to journal, you are actually putting intention on paper. So there's action behind it. When you're meditating, you are in a physical state. So you're putting action behind it. when you're doing mindful activities and practices, you're putting action behind it. And it's always said that faith without works, remember that? We talked about faith, but without the works, this is the work. You put yourself in an actionable position to identify within yourself what is necessary to shift from, and then you now put the work in it. And then what you do once you've done that, you sit back, no attachment, you sit back and perceive the next experience that is aligned with you. Right? And so that is important. Sitting back and letting go. How it happens is none of your business. The frequency will guide you. And it's like the movie Indiana Jones and I believe the Holy Grail, when Indy had to make that leap of faith, right? The bridge did not appear till he made the step. There had to be the intention that the bridge is there. I couldn't do it. And I would have been walking the opposite direction. I don't care what grill or whatever is over there. I wouldn't have been the one to do it. I may push someone else and say, I have faith that you can do it. But I don't think I can do that because I'm terrified of height, right? So I have to deal with that first. I said, why don't you go? I'm going to motivate somebody to do it first and hope for the best, right? But all of us have our limitations, right? And in that case, he had to take that step forward. But think about it, right? When he took that step forward, what he noticed, there's still some level of accountability. When he got into the cave, it wasn't all that was cracked up to be originally, right? There was an accountability to moving in that direction, right? Can you commit your life to being in that space for eternity, right? Can you, it's not like becoming immortal and then leaving, right? And doing everything. You're now stuck in a space. Well, where you're not experiencing reality and you saw the nights and you had that experience, right? So remember, there's also consequences. So when you, that's why it's important for you not to put forth how things are going to happen. Just put forward what experience you want in the end and focus your intention on that, right? So again, some practical tips, begin the day with intentional thoughts. Start to look at those intentional thoughts and start to add some of those affirmations that are meaningful. Don't say, I'm going to be a quadrillionaire, and then you moan a couple of times, and then you look around. That is not how that's going to work because you can't trick your vibration. You can't trick what you resonate. You can trick other people to hear something because that's your illusion of your reflection, but you can't trick the essence of who you are. So it's important that your intention is sincere because you know thyself and you're working on thyself and you're trying to evolve within that self. All right. Now changing your lenses is so critical. Changing how you see people, places, and things. And this is going to be your greatest test, right? Sometimes your physical healing has nothing to do with the pain that you're experiencing or the distortions in the body. It has to do with how you perceive reality, how you see other people, right? And, you know, Richard is one of the most amazing human beings I've had the privilege. And I always brag about Richard because he has like become like one of my uncle, right? He adopted me, I think officially. I don't know if it's unofficial or official, but I'm trying to get him to adopt me officially, right? And so one of the things Richard had to work on is how he was perceiving himself. And that place of gratitude, I was talking to Richard, in fact, this morning, and he would look, he was grateful for how he was perceiving himself in the scope of daily reality, right? How often is he getting to that place where he's angry and frustrated about life, right? And he noticed that that has become less and less. That is growth. And that less and less will lead to the success. So be compassionate with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Your ego is massive. Your ego is what brought forth. The egotistical nature is what brought forth reality. The emotional is what stabilized reality. So those are powerful force of the universe. So it's important that you understand the powerful force within you is not something you dismiss. It's something that you gradually support and manage and neutralize because it's not what is serving you. So you're using those tools in a constructive way. You're still going to be using and leveraging your ego and still leveraging your emotion, but you're going to be leveraging in a constructive way rather than a destructive way. All right. So as part of your default frequency, so that's your interpretation of reality. Your reality interpretation is key, and you know your interpretation, right? Look at them heathens over there. I can't believe. Look at the way she dressed. That's your interpretation. I can't believe he believes in those ideas. Who does that? Who believes in Allah? You make all the funny faces like, oh my God, Lord bless his heart. And then somebody, I can't believe he's a Christian. Why would you believe he's a Christian? And then what are you? I'm an atheist, or I'm an agnostic. I believe in the science. But believing in something and accepting something as your truth doesn't mean it's the truth for other people. And you have to give them grace and space to live that experience because they're living that experience for you. They're living that experience so you can see possibility of yourself and potential of yourself, right? And finding love in those experiences is critical as well. Doesn't matter, right? Who you see, a homeless person, allow yourself to show compassion because they're showing you the aspect of yourself that you could be. And so they're playing that role for you. And what you have to be, in is a space of gratitude and appreciation. And thank you for being sacrificing for that perspective so I can see that reality. And thank you for being the one who sacrificed to experience it because I know I couldn't do it. Right? I don't have the nature to do that. So thank you and be grateful for that. And if you can support. If you can't, so be it. Right. And those are things that we need to be very careful of, So, a lot of times our belief system are limited by our indoctrination. Right. For example, we talk about indoctrination within the construct of religion, but we also have indoctrination within the construct of science and societal belief system. Because a lot of the science that we understand is 0.0000000000000 close to the infinite as it relates to multidimensional understanding. We don't understand jack. We don't understand. In fact, doctors who are waking up and realize we don't know nothing about the human body because we're just now on the forefront of understanding vibrational aspect of the human construct. And we thought what we knew was just garbage, right? And so you have to understand we attach to things, just like many of us are attaching to frequencies and vibrational healing, but it's still an attachment. And it shouldn't be an attachment. It should be a tool that allows you to evolve you. And that's it. It's not something that is going to be the all be all because the all be all is you, right? And so we want to make sure we're practicing on how to shift those frequencies, right? And how to self-regulate our distortion. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Start identifying that or looking at the fear that holds you back. Other people are luckier than myself, and I'm not as smart as other people. I am using these I am in those expressions. And you're pretty much saying, I am all that is, and all that is not manifesting as this physical being, but I'm going to have this idea that I'm limited. So be it, because that's the reality you're vibrating for. So key insight, by consciously adjusting our default frequency, we can change the subjective reality we are experiencing. We want to start creating a life that aligns with our true desires rather than all limited patterns. Your past are a figment of imagination, all of you. Your past does not exist. You shift it and you have this idea of creative memory, right? You think it's memory, but it's not memory, it's creating. We're constantly creating within this illusion of creating. Right? And so that creative process is a shift. We create internally, and then we shift and manifest that reality. And then we create internally, and we shift. So there's no real past, because when you shift, that past is no longer in existence with you because you're not the same person, animal when you shifted from that pattern. So I need you guys to keep that in mind when a lot of time we talk about our past story, but it's just pulling records, right? We have all these records about all the different versions of myself. Right? And the Akashic records, they have so many different titles, but it's a totality of the mind. The mind is where all information are stored. You can tap into the mind and pull those records, and you're able to see that they are just record that we're pulling in, right? In this idea of who we were. And that's why sometimes we don't remember certain things and people are coming to us. You remember when you did this? And you're like, no, I don't remember that. That's because it wasn't you, right? And that memory, you didn't tap into the memory complex to pull that information. So also keep that in the back of your mind, right? So again, the force that guides us forward into the next step, the momentum is your intention. It's important that we understand your next step guides you based on your intention. What are your intention and how is it going to move you forward to your next step or your next level of success? Right? Right. And you got different practical exercise, but what I wanted to do, I wanted to stop here and give, we can look at this last part and then give some opportunity for us to ask questions. So that way we have, we actually have an interaction of the information. And then I can answer any subjective questions to the best of my ability. But again, everything that I do, one of the things I'm noticing, the things that I say, the things that I do, I'm becoming more in tune with people's higher selves, right? And so the higher version of selves usually would come and communicate through me what I need to say. And I just, because I'm at that place of neutrality, I no longer have attachments to a belief system or to an idea in a way that I become subjective. So I'm open to all possibility. Even a child can come to me and educate me because I know within that child, there's a higher version of that child that is infinite, right? That child is also infinite. And so it's important to, be mindful of that. So again, asking yourself questions, what are you feeling? What are the attitude? All those different things are just ways, a path to internalize, right? And leveraging the tool. We have calm tool, we have joy tool, we have worry, getting rid of worries and doubt. We have those frequencies that counter those things, right? If you want to be calm, the frequency to support that. If you want to be joyful, there are joy frequencies that you can look into. If you worry, you can run the counter frequency. What do you worry about? Look for those frequencies that will allow you to saturate yourself, because then when you change the vibration, the reality must change. So it's placing yourself in this state of transformation rather than waiting to transform within your current state. And that's what, because if you're around something that's vibrating, you become that. It's the birds of a feather flock together. And so you have to understand your brain frequency technology, right? So when we talk about scalar, 0 point energy and different things, we're talking about this. I want to digress quickly to that. We're talking about 0 point potential, right? You have 0 point potential when we talk about 0 point energy, right? What are my infinite potential is within that field, right? And then I begin to attach scalar. Scalar becomes the seed that I throw into it, right? Or that I pull from it, however way you want to call it, right? So I can go into the 0 point field and I can pull a seed. That's what David and this new frontier, him and his team and others with scalar. I go into the potential and I pull the potential of, let's say, healing into my body, right? And I go into that 0 point field. But what I'm doing is I'm pulling the potential. And once I pull that potential begins to align me to start to let go of people, places, and things that attach to keep me bound by that situation. And so you plant the seed, and then once you begin to nourish that seed, you begin to vibrate. And that's what the frequency, the Qi Coil does. It allows you to feed the seed, right? So you tap into the scalar and then you feed the seed and then you vibrate and then you manifest you harvest. So in a more simplistic way, think about the infinite garden. You have this infinite field that is a potential to plant anything, right? And then you create the intentional, what is it you want to plant? Well, I would like to have some rice, right? Or I would like to have some corn, whatever it is that you desire to plant. Then you put that seed forward. That's where we start talking about scalar, targeting what seed we're going to put. It's an invisible seed because the seed is in the ground. We can't see it, right? But we know it is there and we put the intention and then we begin to nourish it, right? How do we nourish it? We begin to align ourselves on a vibratory level, right? So that way we can feed that seed. And then ultimately what happens, you wake up one day, you begin to see the sprout. Those are called synchronicity. You begin to see connections to people, places, and things that manifest from within the birth of that seed. And then you begin to live the seed after a while. And then for a season, You might look at the seed, but the seed is not ready for harvest. And that process is important that we stay the journey. We don't go and disconnect and not feed that seed, because if you change your intention, you can lose the manifestation of that seed, because now your intention is on something else and you're focusing your intention on something else that sometimes is contrary to that. So I want to stop again. I'm gonna stop here. And if anybody have questions, please jump in. And this is collaboration. We're family. Anybody would like to ask a question? And we'll continue the rest of this PowerPoint next week as well. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah. Again, man, I don't even know how I found this group or whatever this is, but I'm so glad I found it or it found me. I just want to say that. And I just want to say, like, with the love frequencies, I've had some very different, some really cool experiences in it. And as I was listening to you talk, it was resonating with me about the experiences I have had, and about just changing my like internal compass, if you will.
Excellent.
So, yeah, and it's just been like real subtle things, and I may not notice it when it happens until I think about it in hindsight. I'm like, oh man, maybe I'm like, wow, like stuff is turning around. It may not be like all drastically at once, but the little things have been adding up to where it's like, if you add up everything that's been happening since I've been using the luck frequencies, it's been like major differences.
And remember, every journey begins with the first step. And a lot of times the first step is not what we see the manifestation of the success, right? But it's the continuous step, taking a step forward. So to the family out there, so as we talked about this today, right? How do we practice leveraging this technology? Because they may have other workshops with other team members that talk about the technical aspect. Come and run this frequency for pain, come and run. I want to go deeper with us, right? I want to move us towards transformation, right? And I want to move us towards self-empowerment with this technology, not reactiveness, because that's what the medical field does. That's what everybody's doing. Let's react, and then let's sell this reaction through marketing means and ideas. We want to do better than that, right? And so the whole purpose for me personally, is engaging the technology in a constructive way that helps me transform constructively in the direction I like to go. Anybody else? You can just come off mute if you have a question.
This is Louise.
Hey, Louise, how you doing today?
Good. I always enjoy your talk, but today, oh my God, you are so great. And then, is it possible that to get the replay of this, because I would love to listen to it again.
Absolutely.
I'd like to have my son listen to it too.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. If you join the community, there's replay for all of the training videos that David and his team put together. And
but
so,
how do we? How do I mean, I think I'm on. I get your email. I get the the access to your talk every week. So how do I join your community?
And I also believe it's on Zoom. Not on Zoom, on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you type my name, Jossie, Jossie, and then Gallizia, Gallizia.
G like John or George?
G as in George. Yeah.
Okay,
Jossie Gallizia.
GEL.
Okay, I'm gonna Jossie. And then Galliz as in zebra, IA.
Okay, so on YouTube, I just type your name.
Yeah, and you will see the playlist for this workshop, and you can go through the playlist. And normally what I would do is, after we have the interaction, I write a summary about what we discussed, because I don't like to come in with information already in place, because even today I did that because I want to flow my thinking. But for the most part, I like us to interact objectively, right? And so we're talking and dialoguing. So if you go in there, you will see also the summary of that, and you can find exactly what you're looking for, and also the date of the workshop. So thank you for your feedback.
Great. One sentence that you said today that really I guess it's a good guide. It's like your intention is your momentum.
Yeah.
So it's the push, unless you have an intention, you're not moving. You don't have the engine you don't have gasoline in your engine.
There you go. And that intention is the all be all in a sense as far as transformation. You have to understand we're putting intention into our reality, whether we want to or not, positively or negatively, right? And so a lot of people come in, for example, even sometimes I'll get called, man, I came to the workshop for a specific reason. And I said, well, okay, that's fine. So that intention means you're just coming for that answer. So one of the things we have to be careful when we put that intention, it doesn't mean that situation serves you. I have done that in the past. I put intention to meet people and I've manifested the person, meeting the person. But once I manifest and meet the person wasn't what I thought the person was going to be, right? Because I didn't fully put the right intention to meet the person to solve my problem. I wanted to meet a particular person. So it's a difference, right? Look for the outcome. I need to meet someone that can help me through this journey, right? If I say that, right, then it could be a child that will come my way and I can leverage that child in a constructive way. But then I might see somebody that is famous and say, okay, I would like to be in a room with that or be in a space with that person. Not knowing that is not the person. However, I can still manifest meeting that person with this technology and these tools. And so when I run the luck, I run the abundance, I run that with my intention, I'll meet the person, but the person is not in alignment with me for what I need, right? Because I didn't allow the universe to bring the right person to me. I allowed myself to interact with that process subjectively. So as everybody's putting those intentions forward, remember those intentions are subjective, but it's all about you. Don't make it about another person. Don't seek to meet a famous person because you're making it about that person. You make it about why that person needs to serve you, why that thing needs to serve you. We have to start to internalize. Why is the church who need to serve you? Why is the politician in need to serve you? And you put those intentions, then the universe conspires. Sometimes it might move you to a whole new different location. I've had people who have moved from one country to another country to find their purpose. And say, I don't know how I made that transition. I just know I'm happier here. But everything I was desiring is here. I could have never imagined it being where I was. Right. So again, that is it. Hey, Richard, how you doing, sir?
Okay, how you doing, Jossie?
I'm always blessed to hear your voice, sir.
Hey, Jossie, maybe give them some suggestion as to where they should put the coil in relationship to their body when they're using it. That's a question I've always kind of wondered too, whether you're better having it in contact with your body if you can, or how close should it be to you? Is it good enough to have one of them or both of them if you have both of them? And, because just wondering, never really got much guidance on that.
That's an excellent question. So the coils, if you have the yin and the yang, one is one is more expansive, one is more contraction, right? One contracts you, right? One expands you, right? And so when you're looking at yourself, you have to examine what is exactly you're trying to do with oneself. If you're trying to expand the mind, open your mind, explore a deeper aspect of yourself, then you can run one aspect. I believe the counterclockwise expand and the clockwise contract. Now the question is, why do you want to expand? Right? Because remember, true expansion comes from the place of neutrality. So when you run both, it supports you being balanced. Okay? And so you want those close to you. But remember, intention is everything. With the current scalar, it can be anywhere. But with this device, because we're sending the pulse so far out, you can have it next to your body, could be next to, I think they have the measurement of 9 feet away from you. You can actually lay on your body as well. Some people are more sensitive to frequency, but you can lay on it. You can caress it, embrace it. This is you putting the intention into that thing, right? That thing is not doing anything without you. You tell it, listen, I'm going to love on my Qi Coil. Oh my God, you're so awesome. Look at you. Look at how beautiful you're looking today, right? You can caress it, kiss it, do whatever you want to do. That's you. That's the tool. That is the connection to it. So again, how you put the intention behind the tool is how you're going to manifest. And I have, for example, I will sometimes sit the tool next to when I was sitting next to my kids, and I can see it's too intense for them, so I might spread it out a little bit. But for myself, I lay on that bad boy. I lay next to it. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning where I'll feel my head look like it's expanding, and sometimes I feel my body might feel like I'm a little bit dehydrated. But for the most part, I go get some water and call it a day and keep it moving. And then I had to change my intention that there's no adverse effect to it. Right? And then when I begin to do that, I didn't feel any side effects. Again, it all begins and ends with my intention. If you put the right intention, that device can do whatever you ask it to do, because it's a delivery system of energy. That's what it is. And energy is the all be all. You can tell it how you want it to deliver to you. You can tell it how it's delivering to you, how it's impacting you. All right. So to answer your question, Richard, it's up to you. Test it, feel it, connect with it, and then allow yourself to be able to see it, and then share your testimony so others can say, oh, I have it next to my head, I have it to my body, and I have it on the bottom of my feet. Wherever it is, let us know. And so that way we can have others have this experience and see if they have the same thing. But everybody's unique. Everybody's body is going to receive the energy differently, but the intention is what is going to guide it in.
Okay.
All right.
My experience has been best when it's come into contact with my body.
Yeah, put it next to your body. Put it on your body. Lay on it. Lay next to it. It's up to you. Right? Go ahead, Aman.
Yes, good evening, Jossie.
Yes.
I looked through your Black Friday sale, but there's no reduction or discount on the pricing. Everything seems the same. Normally, Black Friday sale would have a very nice discount, but there's no discount on the products.
Well, I'll bring that up to David's attention. I would tell David, listen, I spoke to this amazing human being, and he told me you need to do something about your discount prices. And let's see what he says about that. In fact, why don't you put that intention out there?
Okay.
Put that intention, seriously, put that intention, and then you might open your computer and see what you need to see. And then maybe when we meet next week, you get to tell us what you saw.
Okay.
Good point.
It's all up to you. And I'm being real, right? I've done that. I put my intention in. Sometimes I get things free 99 that cost thousands of dollars, right? And free 99 is always a great price for me, right? And then, so remember, it's your intention. And so put it forward. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Well, thanks.
So again, I want to stop here, and I want to give everybody the opportunity to reflect on what we talked about. Take some notes. If you took some notes, come back with some reflections, and then next week we'll continue this conversation, because now we will begin to dig deeper into the frequency. We'll begin to look at how we manipulate this frequency and be able to transform our existence. So I appreciate everybody for joining me. Sorry about the last week of missing. Family emergency, situation I had to take care of. I love you guys. I'm always enjoy being here and co-creating with you guys, right? So thank you. And then let's continue next week. Let's see how we can continue building within ourselves and transforming ourselves into the intention that best serves us. All right. So I love you guys. You guys are phenomenal. You guys are amazing. Let's keep this going, and let's see how we can continue to co-create and support the world and support ourselves from within. All right. Appreciate you all. Y'all be blessed. Okay.
Thank you, Jossie. Thank you.
You're welcome.